Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Heart of New York show. I am so excited. I got my good friend back today, Maestro Joseph S. Lento. Incredible, talented, gifted man. He's New York State licensed school administrator. He's involved in so many good things. And I want to get right into it because you got a whole list of like credits to you. I'm telling you, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. You deal number one. Let's get right to it, Joe. Stress in students and the school environment. What is this topic? Why is it so important?
Well, again, first of all, thank you so much to you and Angela for having me on the show. It's a great opportunity to speak about these things. Stress in school is a major issue. According to different studies, over 70% of our students say that they're stressed out. And I've noticed this trend over the last 20 years, and even more so in the last 5 years. It's become prevalent. And instead of being happy at school and focusing on the good things that they can get out of school, students, parents, everyone is stressed about being at school. And that's not the right mindset. If you're anxious and stressed out, you can't possibly achieve what you want to achieve. You can't have fun. And if we can address that issue, I think the students will, of course, benefit from it greatly. Their parents will benefit from it greatly, and the entire education community can benefit from it.
Now, how do you address it?
By first of all telling students and parents it's okay. You don't have to know everything day one, day two, week one, or month one. You can relax. There's a whole network of people in our schools to help us. No one expects you to learn everything the moment that you're given the information. So if we can, I ask families and students, speak with your teachers. Let them know if you're struggling with something. Let them know what you're comfortable with in terms of their approach with the information. Be an advocate for yourself. School is a place where you want to have a great time. It's a home away from home for you. And the teachers are there to support you. The administrators are there to support you. It shouldn't be a time where you're anxious. It's a time where you should be involved, feel creative, and feel free to express yourself and enjoy. And once you do that, you can profit from the education that you're receiving. If you're not, it's going to be a struggle.
That is very important. I mean, the way he's presented it and the way with the work that he does, he makes it a joy for the kids to come and learn and be a part of it. And then when they get themselves involved and feel wanted and enjoy what he's teaching and presenting to them, man, we get explosive results, right, Joseph?
Well, I'm not sure they all think it's such a joy, but
I would say probably with you, Joseph, 99.9%.
Well, that's kind of you. I really try to make it about my students, and it's important when they have ownership in what they're doing. The results are very, very good. Everyone wants to feel valued. They want to feel involved. And I always tell the students, don't be nervous. Don't be stressed in here. And take this attitude and bring it to your other classes. Learning how to play an instrument is not easy. It's a difficult assignment. But when you let the students have ownership in what they're doing and you reinforce the positives about it, find something positive to say to every student every day. And I ask the students, find something positive about something your teacher did during that period. If we each find something positive, we'll get a positive experience, and that will bring down the stress and anxiety level, which is just rampant in the schools, and we need to really tone it down.
Okay. The direction of specialized school in New York City, please forgive me for reading this, Joe, but I want to make sure
please,
this
go
is
right
so
ahead.
important. I want to make sure I address these things as clear to you out there as possible. At the present, the leadership of the New York City Public Schools, they want to change the makeup of the exams presently used for entrance to specialized New York City high schools in an effort to change the student racial populations, currently filling the majority of the specialized high schools, such as the Bronx High School of Science, LaGuardia for Performing Arts, Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, and Staten Island Tech. Can you go into that a little bit?
Absolutely. I've spent 35 years working as an advocate for students in minority communities, special needs communities, minority communities, and I'm very passionate about this topic because what's happening is the specialized schools in New York City, and this is very important to the folks in New York City, they're the 9 schools that specialize in different areas, as Peter read some of the schools from the list. And we want to get all students involved. And right now, the idea is to get more of our minority students involved, which I'm all for. But I think the way we're going about it is not appropriate for the students or the value that the schools themselves have. These schools are for high achieving students in various areas. And when you want to change something in education that's based on anything but education, it diminishes the quality of the results for everybody concerned. What I think our leadership in New York City schools needs to do a better job of is to allocate resources and funds to each district so the students in each district can have the opportunities to rise to the highest level they can so they too can get into these schools. But we have to be realistic. There's 1.1 million students at any given time in the New York City public school systems. These schools cannot possibly accommodate everybody who wants to go to them. So what we have to do is build on those, have more schools like them, create bigger environments, not limited to 9 schools. Let's open it up. Let's make more schools with the same rigorous standards so our kids, who are great kids, can have an opportunity to achieve at a high level. But to do it strictly through racial quotas is going to diminish the impact for the very students that the leadership in New York City believes they want to serve.
Man, you said a lot right there, brother. You said a lot there. How does music fit in with this?
Well, music, of course, is my main area, and I've been an advocate for music and using music as a tool to build academics and social and emotional growth. My first research I did with it was back in 1998. When you teach music, specifically instrumental music, you're activating every part of the body. It's physical, it's emotional, it's sensory, it's all there, and people know this. So if we go back to what I said earlier about allocating resources in each school district, if the leadership of New York City schools could allocate more funds to the arts, specifically music, instrumental music, all of these other things our students would have enhanced abilities in. Their academics would go up. Their social and emotional well-being would be more positive. So the idea is not to focus on 9 schools. It's to focus on all the schools. And because if we don't address the needs of the children, their emotional, their spiritual, their academic needs in the lower grades, you're going to spend the money on other services to keep those children well as they're getting older. When you don't allocate the resources early on, you spend it in academic intervention programs after school, on Saturdays. You're spending the money. Spend it in the right place, in their schools, when they're young, so all of the great kids that go to the schools in New York City can have that benefit. And then they can all take the tests for all these schools, and they may not make it, by the way. As a musician, we know sometimes you fail. It doesn't mean you're not great, but sometimes it means that you just didn't make it, and that's okay. One of the things we've gotten away from is it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to fail a test sometimes. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't define your life. And this is one of the things I think is harming our kids. We're not a test. You're not the sum of one test or two tests or the 3rd or 4th or 5th grade. you might not blossom till later on. It's okay. And I think we've gone away from that. And we've put an inordinate burden on students, and we should make it more joyful for them to be in school.
You know, you spoke earlier about, we want them to relax. And just for curiosity, is there any particular instrument that makes children or more relaxed than another instrument?
Well, if you were asking me just from a listening perspective,
Right.
if you're going to sit a group of people down and have them listen to an instrument, you'd want to do something subtle. You'd want a nice, beautiful violin concerto, maybe a piano sonata.
French horn?
Not necessarily.
No.
No, it's French horn is kind of a rebel in the orchestra. It's got that dark, rebellious sound, but it also can be beautiful and melodious. So yes, you could pick out a beautiful French horn solo, and you could use that, of course.
How about the saxophone for New Yorkers? Do they get no relaxing?
You know, that's the thing about music, as we all know. It can be used. Any instrument can be a messenger of melody and subtlety. Just has to be put
Here's
in the right hands.
Sure. Now, a harder thing to talk about: bullying, cyberbullying. They got bad effects. I see bad effects, according to StopBullying.gov, that says 30% of young people admit to bullying others. 30%. That's the ones that just admit.
Right.
I mean, this is something that more and more people are hearing what's going on out there. These poor kids are going through bullying, and the ones that are not going through bullying are the ones that are bullying.
Right.
So what's causing this, and how can we help that?
Well, I think the first thing we can do is, if you see something, say something, stop it, get involved. There are all kinds of reasons that I'm not really qualified to talk about, that we can imagine, different influences that have given rise to bullying. And, it's something we all experienced at some point in our lives, but it was dealt with differently. When you had the block bully, the bully on the block,
Yeah.
we dealt with it differently in the 1970s
Oh, my goodness.
than we do now. We kind of stood up for each other. But it's become sort of sophisticated. I don't mean that in a complimentary way.
Right.
Bullying has become almost fashionable, and it's disgraceful to pick on people. And now with the internet and the phones and the texting, it's a major problem. And it stops kids from going to school. It stops them from functioning. And I know at the schools, we really try to address it as best as we can. We have support services and things of that nature. But I think the best thing we can do is, if you're a young person and someone's being bullied, please tell an adult. If you're being bullied, please tell an adult. Get people involved. There's help out there. You don't have to suffer.
But all right, it's hard for these kids to tell people because then the bullying will only get stronger. And then I guess there's no easy way to get through it, brother.
No solution is ever easy.
Right.
And there's no solution that's ever perfect. I have trouble with the word solution, because you might come up with something to help the situation, but we can never fully fix it. But that doesn't mean we don't try.
That's right.
That doesn't mean we don't try. Don't be ashamed to say you're being picked on. It's not. It's something that you should be. If you go and say, "Look, I'm being picked on," you're now an advocate. You're now having a positive effect on stopping other people. So you're kind of being a champion when you report that you're being picked on. Don't see it as a weakness. See it as a power. You're using power, and you're now becoming a champion to stop it. Don't be ashamed.
That's the key. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel like you're weak or that you can't handle it or anything like that. That's wrong. Okay, when you stand up to it, kids out there, to the bullying, you do it you're doing a strong thing. You're not doing a weak thing. You want to prevent bad things from happening not only to yourself but to someone else. And it's so hard. I could only imagine what it is in schools today as it was back in our time, back in my time, where bullying was a whole different story. We'd go out in the schoolyard, and then it would be over, and the next day we move on. Right?
It does right. It doesn't work that way anymore. And of course, we're not encouraging to do things the way we used to do them, but we're encouraging you to do things the way that we know will help, and we know that telling an adult will help, because the research shows that when someone gets involved, the bullying stops almost automatically. I'm not talking about something that's been going on that hasn't been dealt with. But if you see something just starting and you get involved right away, it's going to stop. Something that's been going on over a period of time takes a little more research, takes a little bit longer because it becomes, sometimes it's not just one, it's 4, 5, 6 people picking on one person. And if our children don't feel safe in school, how can they concentrate on anything? So it's important. And if you're a young teacher out there, and you're out in the halls in between classes, if you're teaching secondary, say hello to all your students as they pass by, even if you don't know them. Say hello to every student that passes your way. You never know who's going to come to you and say, "Can you help me?" And I've had that many times. So many students who I don't have in my class, but I say hello to everyone. And I go out of my way to say hello to students that don't talk or are looking down. Go out of your way. Encourage friendship. Build relationships with the students as best as you can, and you'd be surprised that a simple hello every day will, elicit friendships, and maybe you'll become someone that kids can speak to.
That's an excellent point. We got to encourage these children. We have to lift them up. We have to show them that they're cared for. We have to, like you said, a simple hello could change the atmosphere right before our very eyes. Just a simple hello to someone, right?
Absolutely. It's important. And I know I've been doing this 35 years. I go out of my way to make sure I speak to students who pass by the class every day, who I don't know. And you build relationships. And many times they've come to me, can I speak to you? And there are lots of teachers out there. I know you've experienced the same thing. And my message is, to the younger ones who might not have this information yet, make friends with all the kids. Even the kids that you don't know, especially the kids you don't know. Let them know they can come to you for anything that they need.
That's the key.
It's important.
So leaders out there, get on the ball. Be ready to be a teacher, a counselor, and someone who cares, all three wrapped up in one, right?
It's a very difficult job. Our teachers do a great job. The young ones, the veteran ones, it's an unsung profession, and my hat goes off to all my peers and colleagues out there. So thank you for the great job you do every day.
Amen. Amen. I want to get into charter versus private versus public schools. What do you think is the best, and what's the difference? Because everybody's talking about charter, taking it away, not taking it away. They're better than public schools. They're not better than public schools. Tell us what about that?
Well, that's another great question. It's a great topic. So to begin with, charter schools are public schools. Private schools are private schools. So private schools are ones in which there's no taxpayer funding, although many private schools do get federal monies for textbooks. That's a small percentage. But the rest of their operation is all from what they collect in tuition. Charter schools are public schools. Only thing is that the charter schools have a different set of operating rules. More or less, there are tests that students have to take to get into them, as opposed to traditional public schools where they don't. And again, I love public education. I think it's one of the greatest things our nation does, affords all of us the opportunity to learn. I don't like that there's a divide and that the charter school movement, excuse me, has, that there is this divide that I speak of. What you need to do is this: educate yourself as what the difference is between the public charter and your traditional public school. You'll find often that the charter schools might have more success in one area. A public school, traditional public school, might have better success in another area. Specifically, graduation rates. The National Education Association recently came out with a study that said our traditional public schools had a 50% graduation rate, and the charter public schools had a 54% graduation rate. That's not a stunning difference to me. So what I would like to see is the charter schools and the traditional public schools working more collaboratively than they presently do. Right now, someone believes if their child gets into a charter school, it's a panacea. It'll fix all the problems. Not necessarily. It doesn't really work that way. So I see that the communities themselves are fighting over these schools. And what I'd like to see is no fighting over the schools. Let's fight for making every school a top shelf for all of our kids in every community, because charter schools take X amount of funding away from the traditional public schools, and this is where the fighting comes in. And whenever there's fighting and money involved, our kids suffer. So if we're going to have great schools, let's have great schools, and we don't have to call them charter or anything else.
Right.
Let's just make them all great. And I'd just like to see the public schools come back under one umbrella, working together for the benefit of our kids.
Couple of highlights. 1999 New York City Bronx County High School Teachers of the Year. Right there. 2014 National Teacher of Arts and Humanities from President Obama.
Yes.
These are honors here, bro. You got a whole list of them, of main highlights. You're recognized by George Hubert Walker Bush, 2016. You're recognized by Senator Schumer, recognized by Senator Gillibrand, keynote speaker at the United Nations World Youth Assembly. You're more than just a maestro.
I've been very blessed to have many opportunities and to share some information with students and communities, and along the way, been very grateful to be recognized for them. But it all stems from the work I do, which is just information that I've been blessed to be given by some of the greatest teachers in the world, whether they were Vince Penzarello, the New York Philharmonic, or Dr. Alan Brings, or Joanne Falletta, or John Corleano. I've really been blessed. So I'm just passing information on, and thank you.
Joseph, it's always a privilege and honor to have you on, and you are a gifted man. I think God Almighty has loaded you up with tremendous things to pass on to people, kids, music, special needs, all the above. It's just absolutely incredible, the list of the main highlights that you have done. This man touches so many people. Angela and I are 1,000% behind him. Whatever he goes through in any type of resistance, we go through with him, because he is helping people, kids, the system, all the above. All the above. So I must say, thank you so much for coming on. It was a privilege. I hope to see you soon, and we will get together soon, and we will get together to show all the things, great things that are manifesting because of this man. God bless. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a great night. See you next time.